Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our first new edition of the Esch and Akins Show Nerd News.
All right, man. All right. What are we going to talk about?
Jason, we've got a lot of new nerd stuff that's going on right now. Obviously, we've got Moon Knight that's in our third episode that we saw last night. We've not talked about the Eternals.
Right.
We talked briefly on Spiderman, No Way Home.
Oh, man.
You have seen the Batman.
Yes.
You have seen Morbius. I have not seen those two titles yet.
Right.
Coming up, we've got Obi-Wan series that will launch at the end of this month. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. That is correct.
I can't wait to see that. I've been reading a whole lot of stuff about that. Some stuff got leaked that I've read, and I'm excited about that. We're not just one-dimensional nerds, guys. We're not just Marvel nerds. We are Marvel, DC, Star Wars. It don't matter what it is, movie-related, nerd-related, we're all for it.
We run the gamut. Let's start it off with Moon Knight.
Absolutely. I think it's the hottest TV show on right now.
Absolutely. What do you think so far about? We're 3 episodes deep.
Well, first episode going in, I was a little confused because we really didn't get introduced to Mark Spector right away.
That's correct. It was Stephen Grant.
That was a little confusing to me, but as you watch the episode, you understand that he may have a bipolar disorder, a split personality.
Yes.
Now, we don't know yet whether this is because of his power that he has derived, but I'm sure we will. Second episode was fantastic, but the third episode that we watched last night, Jason, absolutely incredible. I want more of that.
I agree. It's very interesting to see with Khonshu how they're going into the Egyptian pantheon. And for Marvel, they have kind of a pantheon of, and there are different terms. A lot of times they're referred to as the sky gods. Basically beings who derive their power from human devotion to them. Of course, you have the Norse mythology
that we've seen through the first 4 phases of
totally
a big part. I mean, you've got Thor, you've had Odin, Loki, Freya,
Hela.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, you've had just an army of that through the first 4 phases of Marvel's genius movie universe. But if you look at the comic books, Jason, they have had other gods other than the Norse gods.
Oh, absolutely. You have the Egyptian pantheon, you have the Greek pantheon, and that's just that. Those are the main ones. But you can even get into the Native American pantheon. You can get into the Indian pantheon with the Hindu religion. There are all kinds of different pantheons, but this, of course, Moon Knight is focusing on the Egyptian pantheon. And, Moon Knight is a character in Marvel that a lot of people have compared to Batman, but he's not quite. He's more super powered than Batman, and he's a little bit more deadly.
Absolutely.
A little bit more bloody in his approach. And, it's a really different feel, because one thing I've noticed in this series is a lot more blood, a lot more death. And
maybe you say more of a darker side of Marvel.
A darker side of Marvel, yes, I would agree. A darker side of Marvel, maybe taking us toward the Punisher and Deadpool and those guys.
The Midnight Suns.
Yes. But Oscar Isaac is a fantastic actor, and he's doing a great job of playing someone with multiple personality disorder or dissociative disorder, whatever you want to call it. But I'm not sure where they're headed with this, but and of course Ethan Hawke is playing the villain, and he's doing a great job with that. But at this point right now, normally I would be able to predict this is kind of where they're headed. I don't know where they're headed.
I don't have a clue, brother. I sat and thought about it last night after watching the episode, and I'm just blown away that Kevin Feige has once again stumped us.
Yeah, he really has. With this one right here, every episode brings a new thing to me.
Right.
I can't predict it.
And like I said, it's a great show, and I'm looking forward to the next run of show She-Hulk, of course.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, this is going to be awesome. This is going to be awesome.
But Moon Knight, to me, growing up, was a lesser-known character.
I remember back in the 80s when his title first started showing up big time. I would go to the local drugstore to buy my G.I. Joe comics, Transformers, and I would see Moon Knight, and it just felt like he was, and this sounds strange, it felt like he was a lesser-known character and a little bit more out there.
Yeah.
So I never really got into it until they announced that they were going to do a Moon Knight show. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, okay. So I looked at some of Comics Explained and looked up some stuff on Moon Knight, and he's an interesting character. He's a total, what we have seen so far, what's been presented in the MCU, is basically superpowered individuals who are superpowered through some type of formula or some type of technology. Well, this is a superpowered individual who is superpowered through some type of connection to what would be considered a god.
A god.
Yes.
Now, who is the god that Moon Knight derives his power from, Jason, for our listeners?
Khonshu.
Khonshu. He is a bird-looking subject.
He is very unattractive.
Very much.
Very much. He is the god of vengeance.
He has got a rough attitude.
And he does. He has a rough attitude. I think maybe amongst the rest of the gods, he's considered kind of a punk.
A cast out.
A cast out. And, but he kind of, and I think we're going to see this further explained in the show. Oscar Isaacson's character, Mark Spector, was a mercenary that did a lot of bad stuff for money. Mm-hmm. And he was killed. We don't know how, why, what happened. But Khonshu came to him and said, I will renew your life. I will bring you back. But you must be my avatar. He said, okay, I'll do it. And we're not sure exactly where the different personalities come from. And I'm sure that will be explained later.
Yeah, I would like to see that. Because that, like I said in the first episode, that was a confusing angle for me.
Yes.
And apparently, Mark Spector has not been his first avatar.
No. The villain Harrow that Ethan Hawke is playing, who is actually an amalgamation of a couple of different villains from the comics. He is the former avatar of Khonshu, who is now the avatar of the goddess Ammit.
Ammit. And that is who he is trying to dig up in the desert.
He is trying to resurrect Ammit. And the difference between Khonshu and Ammit is the god of vengeance. In other words, you do bad things, Ammit's coming for you.
He's coming to get you.
Coming to get you. Well, now Ammit takes it a step further. Ammit basically is the goddess of vengeance, but in the aspect of if you're an avatar of Ammit, you can decipher whether or not someone will do something evil in the future or has done something evil in the past, and you're weighed out in the balance as to whether or not you are worthy to live or die.
Absolutely. Wow. And I look forward. How many episodes of that show do we have, Jason? I'm not sure how many episodes they've got planned for Moon Knight as far as the first season anyway.
It's six episodes.
6 episodes. So we're halfway through the first season.
We're halfway through.
Awesome. So we've talked about Moon Knight, and it's something we brought up talking pre-production about this. We've got the Eternals. The movie's dropped, and we've heard about the Eternals. We know about them. But you've also got these different groups of gods that are the MCU is dropping. We've already seen the Norse gods, Thor and Odin and Loki. And now we've got the Egyptian gods.
Yes.
And we know that when Thor Love and Thunder comes out, we're going to get introduced to the Greek gods.
Yes. Yes.
How is Marvel and Kevin Feige going to tie all this together to the existence? Because we know that when Earth grew, basically, the Eternals were put here.
Yes, by the Celestials.
By the Celestials as godlike creatures. Mm-hmm. Where do the other gods fit into that?
It's interesting to me because some of the Eternals are actually stand-ins for different Greek or Roman gods. Like Athena is Athena.
Yes.
That's a very good example right there.
So maybe them gods derive from maybe their bloodlines.
Well, or they go back thousands of years.
Yeah.
Perhaps that was just kind of a spin on the name, on the title, and Athena became Athena, the god of war.
Mm-hmm. I like it. Yeah. I'm just, like I said before, I would like to see how Marvel and Kevin Feige twist that to make it fit.
Well, you've also got Gilgamesh.
Mm-hmm.
Gilgamesh, when you go into Sumerian mythology, Gilgamesh was a very important, I don't know if you would call him a god or I'm not sure if he's at god level, but he was a very important player in Sumerian mythology. So what I see with Marvel is they're playing with all these different pantheons. And at some point, they have to explain, well, this is what these particular entities are. Mm-hmm. This is they're not just, they were worshipped as gods in their society at that time, but they are not the one above all.
Right.
They are not,
And good Lord, if the Marvel Universe ever tries to get into explain that.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, that's going to be a whole new twist there for the universe.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we know that in Thor Love and Thunder, and we'll get back to the Eternals in a moment, we know that in Thor Love and Thunder at some point, the Norse gods will be interacting with the Greek gods.
That's right. We've got Russell Crowe, who is reported to be playing Zeus. There have also been reports that Hercules could possibly show up. And Hercules actually at one time or another has been an Avenger. Mm-hmm. He has been a huge part of the Marvel Comics storyline. Zeus not as much, but Zeus is there.
And Hercules has been used in DC as well.
That's true. DC has actually used Hercules, and DC has played with the different pantheons of gods.
Yep. So I'm interested in seeing that. Something else that we've seen that we've not even thought about talking to our listeners about. We saw things from Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness that's coming out. We've actually seen an official trailer.
We have.
That we know is going to introduce the Illuminati.
Yes, the multiversal Illuminati.
Yes.
Which is different from what we're used to in the comics with the Illuminati in the comics basically was the leaders of the different groups of superheroes who had gotten together to kind of work together to keep everything in check. And you had Professor X, you had Black Bolt of the Inhumans, you had
Iron Man,
Tony Stark, you had Black Panther, you had Namor the Submariner, I'm sorry. And Reed Richards.
That's a big one.
That's a big one. And Captain America.
From what I've seen from the trailer and just me picking it apart, Sir Patrick Stewart is going to be in the movie.
He is going to be a multiversal version of Charles Xavier.
Yes.
So he's not going to be the version we're used to from the Fox universe, but he will be a version. Now, there's also, if you look at the trailer closely, there is a superpowered individual that's fighting with Wanda Maximoff in the Illuminati headquarters. It was theorized at first that was Superior Iron Man, but when you look at it and break it down, the shape of the body of that particular character is a female shape. It is not a male shape. So there's a good chance that is Marie Rambeau, who as a form of Captain Marvel.
As a form of Captain Marvel, yes, fantastic. We also, I'm speculating a form of the Black Panther will be a part of the Illuminati.
I'm thinking Superior Iron Man.
I agree. Superior, because you see the bots in the trailer.
The Ultron bots.
The Ultron bots.
Yes.
Now that may lead to something down the road with the X-Men.
Well, there has been a lot of talk that Tom Cruise took a couple of weeks off from filming something, probably one of the Mission Impossible movies, and came to Atlanta, where they filmed most of the Marvel stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I could see him stepping in as a Superior Iron Man.
Yes, a character we may not need to see down the road. But
right, it was somebody who's standing in this movie.
He was actually cast as Iron Man in a previous idea of an Iron Man movie years back.
Yes, that's back in 2006, 2008.
Yeah, before, it was before that. It was probably in the late 90s.
That's right. Before they took a chance on Robert Downey Jr. because he had so many substance abuse problems.
That's it.
But they took a chance on him, and it turned out to be perfect casting, and he got everything straight.
That he did, and made the MCU what it is today, in my opinion.
I totally agree. I think that the multiversal Illuminati they'll be big for this film and kind of clue in the audience to the fact that there are bigger universes, there are different versions of these heroes, but I don't think they're going to be around after this. I think Wanda's going to wipe them out.
You think she's going to wipe out the Illuminati?
I do. I think she's going to wipe them out. I really do. I think this is going to be a film where Wanda basically shows exactly how powerful she is.
Well, she is a powerful being.
She is. She's a Scarlet Witch, which there's a Scarlet Witch in every single universe, according to the MCU and according to the Marvel Universe. And it's kind of an anomaly, but she is extremely powerful.
And from my understanding, Universe 616,
yes,
which is the universe we see in the main MCU storyline,
right,
that she is the most powerful version of Wanda Maximoff.
Absolutely, she is. She is the most powerful version. She's a multiversal threat, and she's a reality warping threat. And if you go back to the show that they did on WandaVision, she literally warped reality to her will.
For a whole town.
And
everybody involved in it.
Absolutely.
Now, also that trailer, we see Doctor Strange gets arrested.
Yes.
By the multiversal police or the Illuminati or whatever have it. Now, do you think that is a later clip into the movie where they have actually arrested him for the purpose of helping them defeat Wanda, or from his actions that took place in Spider-Man No Way Home?
I think it's from his actions that took place during Spider-Man No Way Home, but I think during his trial, I think they will begin to realize that the greater threat is Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch.
Because that's the first time in No Way Home that we've seen the multiverse messed with.
Yes.
And he really did a bang-up job messing with it.
Oh, he did. He did a bang-up job. I mean, Spider-Man No Way Home was a masterpiece.
Oh, it was beautiful. We've talked about it for years, Jason, seeing all three of our versions of Spider-Man participate in an event together.
That was incredible.
And I was like a 12-year-old girl.
Oh my God.
Thinking about going to prom in a couple of years.
I remember being in the theater, and when Andrew Garfield walked in, the theater went crazy. And then when Tobey Maguire showed up, it went even crazier.
It was wild.
It was
the best Spider-Man movie that we've seen from any of the Spider-Man movies.
It could have possibly been the best MCU film, depending on who you talk to. Mm-hmm. It was just fantastic. And, at the end when Doctor Strange was trying to close the multiverse and you could see all of the different Spider-Man villains from the different universes, and all you could see was their outline.
Mm-hmm.
And they were ready to come in because they were all going after Spider-Man. That was incredible.
Absolutely. Beautiful movie, well put together. Now, for me personally, Jason, I think Thor Ragnarok and Endgame, to me, are my two favorite Marvel movies.
I'm not going to disagree with you. Thor Ragnarok, and for me, Infinity War.
Infinity War was good. It done a lot of building for Endgame.
Oh,
we knew it was going to.
Oh, yeah.
But to me, them two are my favorite.
Yeah, when you get to that level, it's hard to say which is better. Thor Ragnarok basically rescued the whole Thor storyline.
Absolutely.
And we had never seen anything like it.
Absolutely incredible. And then it led into Infinity War, which led into Endgame, which led into everything else.
Yes, it was a masterpiece.
Now, we've kind of segued a little bit. We were trying to dive into the Eternals a little bit. What was your thoughts on the Eternals? We've not talked about it.
The Eternals were they were panned by some critics, but I think with comic book films, especially the MCU, you get a lot of critics that have maybe different axes to grind, maybe different even political axes to grind or social axes to grind, and they bring that into their reviews. And I try to ignore that. I think that the Eternals was unfairly maligned because it was different from other MCU movies. But I think that the strength of the Eternals is that it was different. And I thought, you know what? I like how they took their time. It was a long movie, but they took their time with it, and they developed these characters. And the Eternals in Marvel Comics is a lesser known title. It's not a real big title, but they play a big role. And I felt like, they really did a good job with the film, about as good as you can do with the material. Of course, you can always improve here and there, but I don't feel like it really deserved the criticism it got. I don't.
No, because it's going to lead us into more, and I don't think we're done with them characters completely.
No.
I think, we can't be, because it kind of builds up to the Black Knight.
That's right.
At the end of the Eternals, so we're not done with some of the characters altogether.
Well, and I loved the end credits scene where you had Harry Styles playing the brother of Thanos, and he comes in and it's kind of like, they're taking it into a totally different direction than the rest of the MCU, and that's great. That's something else totally separate to itself.
Absolutely, and that's going to be an incredible show. We've got that coming out.
Oh yeah.
When is it released? Black Knight.
Oh gosh, I don't know. Blade will come before the Black Knight, and Blade will be a part of the Black Knight story.
Absolutely, and that I'm assuming that is his voice at the end.
It is Mahershala Ali. That is his voice, where he says, "Are you sure you're ready for that, Mr. Witten?"
Right, and that'll be an incredible story. I loved Blade, and we've talked before that Blade, when it came out with Wesley Snipes, that it saved Marvel.
Oh, it did. Blade was huge, and people now, you look back and you don't realize what a big deal it was. But Blade with Wesley Snipes, at least the first two, was a big deal.
Absolutely.
And they were very well done. They hold up even today.
Oh, the first one, that's a cult masterpiece.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And what a lot of people don't know, and I didn't know, hey, Sam. That's Sam. He's the local guard dog. Was that in the original Blade, there was to be an end scene that foreshadowed Morbius.
Morbius, yes.
Yeah.
I read about that. Now, speaking of Morbius, I know we're jumping all over the comic book spectrum right now, but it has been confirmed that Morbius is not in Marvel 616 universe.
No, he is not. Morbius is in what they were calling the Venomverse.
Yes.
And that is a universe occupied by him, Venom, and we're not sure which Spider-Man.
Don't know.
It's speculated that it's Andrew Garfield.
Yeah,
we don't know that.
Right, because we've not seen a Venom in his universe, in either of his movies. The Amazing Spider-Man. We've not seen it, so it would make sense
Yes.
for that to be the case.
Absolutely.
Tobey Maguire, we saw Venom in his universe.
We saw Venom in his universe, and I'm going to tell you, Andrew Garfield did an incredible job in Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yes.
His whole storyline came full circle.
Absolutely. And he was not given, in my opinion, he was not given the credit he deserved playing Spider-Man in his 2 movies that did get released.
You know what? I agree with you. I think that they were, looking back on them now, they were better than what they were considered.
Absolutely. And I think all 3 of them have done a spectacular job, whether it be, Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield or our current Spider-Man, our beloved current Spider-Man.
I'm going to tell you, man, Tom Holland has done fantastic.
He looks the part. He looks young.
Yes. He plays the part well.
Plays the part fantastic. And I hope that they can continue to use him in Spider-Man Ventures in the future.
Well, if a report that I saw today is accurate, it has been announced that he is getting another 3-part trilogy.
Fantastic.
Yeah, which would be awesome.
And I would like to see them, and I was so against it to start with when the MCU launched about going back and using the characters, if it makes sense, from the previous Spider-Man or the X-Men. I was kind of against it because I don't want it to mess things up.
Right.
But I would like to see them carry on with Maguire's Spider-Man, or not Maguire, I'm sorry, Garfield's Spider-Man, and move him forward. Maybe see, what happened with them 2 after
I think there's
No Way Home.
There is room because you got Sony over there sitting on top of the ownership of all the Spider-Man characters. And then you got Disney that has the biggest thing they got is Tom Holland for Spider-Man. I think there's room for 2 different Spider-Verses. And I think that opens it up to a lot of stuff. And you can bring in, every now and then, you can bring in Tobey Maguire.
Miles Morales.
Miles Morales has not even been touched yet. He's there. And you have that's the one thing about Marvel. In every Marvel universe, you have a version of Spider-Man.
Absolutely.
And so they can take that and run with it.
Absolutely. We've talked about a lot as far as nerd news. We do have some upcoming shows that, I've read some spoilers on upcoming Star Wars projects. Obi-Wan that launches at the end of this month.
What do you know about that?
I'm excited about it. I know that some things I've read, there will be at least 2 battles between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader through the series.
They have to bring Christian Haydenson back.
Well, they are.
Okay.
He's coming back to play Darth Vader. That's confirmed. That was confirmed a long time ago. I'm anxious to see because there's a 20-year span where Obi-Wan was living on Tatooine that we know nothing about from any of the movies.
He was in hiding.
He was in hiding, but we know that Darth Vader don't find him on Tatooine.
No.
Not through the 20 years while Leia and Luke were growing up.
No, because if he had, he would have found Luke.
He would have found Luke.
Yes.
No doubt.
No doubt.
So we know that Obi-Wan is going to be venturing off Tatooine at some point.
But what about the Inquisitors?
The Inquisitors, that's a big part, and they touched on that a lot with the animated versions of Star Wars, with the Clone Wars and Akasha Tano and characters like that. That was played a lot through that. So there's several Inquisitors, and if you've seen anything about the like I said, the Clone Wars or any of the animated series is through Star Wars, you know a little bit about them. You can also dig into canon and learn more about them at that point. So, I look forward to seeing all that. There's also, I know Jason does not play video games, but there is a video game called Star Wars The Fallen Order. I am more of a video game nerd. I have 6 kids, so I kind of have to be, and I have to stay up with the times. But fantastic, kind of an open world video game where you get introduced to one of the Inquisitors at the beginning of the show. So you have that. What I want to see, and I'm like I said, I'm a Star Wars nerd. That was one of my favorite movies growing up. I want to see what Obi-Wan has been doing in the time from when him and Yoda decided to go into exile after the birth of Luke and Leia, and I would like to see it span all the way from then to when Obi-Wan finds Luke on Tatooine after he is attacked by the Tusken Raiders, and go from there. Also, I think we'll see a lot of tie-in maybe with The Mandalorian, which was a fantastic Star Wars show. I think we'll see some tie-in with that. So, with that said, it's also going to spawn some other shows off from The Mandalorian. We're going to see more with Luke Skywalker at that point as a younger self in between the times of that and the most recent trilogy of Star Wars movies.
I think they've got a golden opportunity with Kenobi to really do something good. The Mandalorian was a big hit. I think Boba Fett was okay, but
I'm not even touched on that yet. Boba Fett, I thought it was incredible.
You thought it was incredible?
I thought it was a great show.
I thought it was great till it got to the last episode, and I was disappointed.
A little bit.
A little bit.
I think it's expanding the universe that, maybe that some people have only read about in canon.
Well, I agree with that. Now, the bounty hunter who came after, but what's his name?
Bane, shit. We're hearing crickets right now.
Well, yeah, we can't remember something.
Anyway, the blue guy.
The blue guy.
And I'll think of it as soon as we're finished recording.
Yes, of
and
course
I'll
you
feel
will.
stupid.
The gunslinger.
The gunslinger, absolutely.
He was well done.
Absolutely.
He was well done.
Really looked a lot like, because he was in the animated series, which something we don't talk about a lot, which are really good shows, actually. He was in that. I've kind of speculated we may see Darth Maul in the Obi-Wan series.
I think we will too. I do. I think we will too. I just think they can. This is the moment where they can really do something special.
In a lot of people's eyes, the most recent trilogy of Star Wars was garbage.
Yeah.
In a lot of people's eyes.
Yeah. I think they screwed up on the, what was the Rise of Skywalker, the last one?
Mm-hmm.
I think they screwed up by not bringing Christian Haydenson back. People were wanting that. I felt like, to be honest with you, I felt like it was rushed. It should have almost been 2 movies.
Yeah, I think so. But he should have... You're right. He should have been brought back as a Force ghost at that point.
No doubt.
Because he turned back to the light side of the Force.
He did. And, you got a lot of folks. I mean, the first of the prequels was in, 2000?
Something like that.
99, 2000?
And a lot of people think they were garbage.
Yeah, a lot of people think they were garbage. But you've got a lot of folks who are like, you know what? We're ready to see him come back.
Right. But you've also... A lot of Star Wars fans... They've been fans since '77 when A New Hope originally came out.
Oh, yeah.
And then they had, they had A New Hope, they had The Empire Strikes Back, and then they had The Return of the Jedi.
Right.
They're I say old school, so anything outside of that nonchalant.
It bothers them. It bothers them.
It bothers them.
Yeah, they don't like it. And the thing is, what we got to remember, and George Lucas said it best, a lot of times when you see your first Star Wars movies, you're 8, 9, 10 years old, and it's the greatest thing you've ever seen. I can say that for myself, seeing A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. And for me, it's like nothing could ever be better.
Absolutely. And they were great movies, all 3 of them.
Exactly. We got to remember, there were people who were 8, 9, 10 years old that saw the prequels.
Absolutely.
That to them, they're as good as it gets.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's going to be the same way with this generation that's seen the newest trilogy.
Yes.
They're going to think they're the greatest 3 movies in the Skywalker saga.
Exactly.
I'm open-minded about it, and I feel like that, yeah, sure, even in A New Hope or Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi, there were flaws in the movie, but at the time, they didn't have all this technology we have now to put together a masterpiece.
Right.
I loved the prequel trilogy.
Oh, yeah.
I thought, a lot of people say Jar Jar was a terrible character. I love the character. It brought some comic relief to it. And it's before, when you look at the original trilogy, it's before the Empire really took hold.
Well, it gives you some background.
Absolutely.
How did we get here?
And I'm still anxious. We've talked about the Old Republic.
That's what I want to see.
I want to see that.
Yeah, that's what I want to see.
Because if you really dig into like Old Republic or pre-Old Republic, lightsabers were not just a handle that emitted a blade.
Right.
They were connected to a backpack the Jedi or the Sith had to wear to power it.
Yeah, a power pack. Literally.
Because the technology in their time wasn't there to do just a single sword-style blade.
Exactly.
It would just be interesting to me. And there's a lot of characters that are maybe from canon they could introduce into the Star Wars universe. Darth Bane, Darth Plagueis. There's a lot of them that could be. Darth Raven, which was a friend of Darth Bane's.
Yeah, you have a lot of characters in those early days who went back and forth between the Jedi and the Sith.
Right, because Raven and Bane were both originally Jedi.
Yes.
And they got introduced to the dark side, which they flirted with Luke Skywalker a little bit in canon.
Yes. Yeah, we have seen basically with the movies this kind of a very ones and zeros. Okay, this is good, this is bad. This is the light, this is the dark. But you have a lot of Jedi, and a lot of some of them are referred to as gray Jedi, who kind of operate between the light and the dark.
Now, would you consider Rey a gray Jedi, or would you consider her a full-blown?
I would consider her a gray Jedi. Liam Neeson's character,
Qui-Gon.
I would consider him a gray Jedi.
I think so.
Yeah,
I agree. I don't know that I'd go as far as Obi-Wan. And Anakin probably, if he wouldn't have turned to the dark side, probably would be considered a gray Jedi.
Oh, definitely.
Obi-Wan was pretty straight-laced.
He's pretty straightforward, yeah. Pretty straight-laced.
Well, guys, we have really nerded out. We have touched so many topics. And I promise you that we will have some set-in-stone topics during Nerd News, because I would like to outline. We had started doing it with our Two Guys show.
Yes, we did.
Outlining different characters.
Yes.
I love that. We talked about Ghost Rider and different characters like that.
Right.
I would like to do some shows like that as well, Jason, for the Nerd News fans.
Yes.
Because we have some listeners that don't enjoy the Nerd News. They enjoy our other shows we do.
Our topic-related shows.
But we also have the listeners that love the comics and love the Marvel universe, like our good friend Paranormal Billy White. We will definitely be having him back on the show at some point.
Yes, for sure.
We love Billy. He is a great individual. And something y'all don't know about Billy is an artist.
He's a great artist.
Billy can draw. Billy has sent me some pictures of Ghost Rider that he drew, and several other, Moon Knight even, I believe, that he drew freehand. It's incredible. And Billy, one of his talents, he writes his own comic books sometimes.
Oh yeah, he's a very interesting individual.
Absolutely. So guys, we're going to bring an end to Nerd News for the night. It's been great being back recording with y'all, talking about our nerdness and something we're really interested in.
Yes.
It's got me wanting to go home and have a Marvel marathon. But the last time I got in my mind that I was going to have a Marvel marathon, I ended up with COVID and then ended up in the hospital. So maybe a movie a night will do me, and maybe we'll call it a marathon.
Hey, it sounds good.
Guys, we'll be back with y'all in another week with another Nerd News. I'm sure we'll update on Moon Knight or any other developments that are in the Marvel, DC,
Star
Wars, any universe out there that has any nerd-related topic to it.
We're going to cover it.
The next Nerd News episode, Jason, I want to talk about Morbius.
Absolutely.
I've not seen Morbius. Maybe by next week.
We need to talk about that.
Maybe by next week I can have watched it. Also, the Batman, which you said we're not even going to talk about until I see it.
You've got to see it first.
I want to see it first because you've gave me the idea in my head that Robert Pattinson is the greatest Batman of our era.
It's for me, it's a done deal.
I laughed about it when they first cast him.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, you're going to really be impressed.
Awesome, guys. We'll see y'all next time on Nerd News. Thanks again for listening to the Esch and Akins Show.
Excelsior.